Hello, I'm Father Mike Lager from St. John's Episcopal. It's an honor to be a part of a group of churches that work together in our downtown area. As we've come together, our world is in a national crisis. And so we thought we would offer some theological reflections as we understand them. Protests following the death of George Floyd began in Minneapolis and subsequently spread across the United States. It seems that every community has some kind of experience with institutional violence, and change is being called for by a diversity of voices. The call for reform and change is sweeping across America. The truth is that the legitimate call for justice and accountability is being threatened by actions of outside agitators and by people seeking to exploit the demonstrations. Violence, destruction, and looting make for compelling news coverage, but it's a distraction from the important call for justice that is motivating these demonstrations. As church leaders in this community, we feel it is imperative that we call Christians to support the work for justice and institutional accountability in the treatment of those in the minority community. Those who hold the power of law enforcement, administration, and governing must understand the importance of addressing the perspectives of those who are systematically ignored or powerless. This kind of change only comes when we are willing to communicate with those who have a different perspective and life experiences than our own. When we open ourselves to the experiences and perspectives of our neighbor, we begin the process of change that can lead to a deeper sense of justice in this world. This is where Jesus Christ and the Christian faith can speak most meaningfully in our world. In the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus gave one of his most challenging teachings that speak to this moment. He said, "But I tell you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you, so that you may be children of your Father in heaven." Loving the one we label as our enemy and praying for someone that has the power to persecute names the two realities that motivate continued division and oppression. The first lie is that we are different from one another and that difference is irreconcilable, so that the other person or the other group is allowed to be an enemy. The second lie is that the other is a threat, so persecution or prosecution is the only legitimate response. Jesus needs his followers to break this cycle by allowing love to break down the fear of the one we do not know, or pray for the other's good, so that empathy may be infused into our judgmental biases. Jesus saw the brokenness and pain that division and demonizing causes between people and races. He saw how power seeks to protect itself by continuing to reinforce differences. Only when we see one another as equal children of our Father can we begin to change the world that has been constructed on the illusion of our neighbor being an enemy and a threat to us. No real dialogue around historical and institutional injustice can take place when we see another person or another group as a threatening enemy. Every last one of us share the image of God. That theological reality is the Christian beginning point for working toward the good of justice for everyone. Our prayer is that the voice of those calling for reform to systems that treat any group or person as less than equal be corrected. Our faith compels us to respect the dignity of everyone. When we open ourselves to love the one who is different from ourselves, we see that the perceived threat is an illusion, and we can walk together as children of our Father. Amen. Thank you.